The Chinese philosopher and military strategist Sun Tzu once said, "If you know your enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the outcome of 100 battles. If you know yourself, but not your enemy, you will win one and lose one. And if you know neither yourself nor your enemy, you will be imperiled in every battle." That idea has survived centuries for a reason. Combat isn't decided just by strength alone. It's often decided by understanding. Understanding your tools, your weapon, understanding your limits and the enemies. And most importantly, understanding how to survive long enough to apply both of them successfully. Offense, in my mind, may end a fight, but defense is what determines whether you're allowed to stay in it. And once you truly know your weapon, winning stops being about raw damage or flashy attacks. It becomes about control, responding correctly to pressure, reading intent, and turning defense into an opportunity. So, for Jedi Survivor, I want to do something a little different. Having just finished Fallen Order, I don't think there's much value in re-explaining the basic controls at surface level because they're really not all that different. Instead, I want to focus on what actually separates good play from mastery, how each weapon defends, how each weapon flows, and how each of them responds under pressure. From what I've experienced, Jedi Survivor is an improvement over Fallen Order in nearly every way, but especially in how its combat systems interlock. I'll still cover the core mechanics of each weapon, but not as a checklist, but to show how they fit together in a type of language. Because every stance isn't just an offensive option, it's also a defensive philosophy. So, let's get straight into the mechanics and the mindset behind them. Now, if you watched my Fallen Order video, you know that the Double Saber is my favorite weapon. It rewards aggression, precision, and forethought under pressure. Everything I believe great combat systems are built on. And that's why, for my first full playthrough of Jedi Survivor, I had to use it. Now, the reason I say that is because in my Final Fantasy XVI review, I believe I showed a clip of me fighting Ravis. I started a file, but I didn't finish it. So, after finishing Fallen Order, I started over on Survivor to experience it from the beginning. So, that's why this will be my first full playthrough. Alright, let's get into it with the Double Saber. Tabbing X or square 4 times with proper timing executes the double-bladed saber's basic combo string. And right away, this weapon tells you what it's all about. The Double Saber is a high commit stance. Even the very first input locks Cal into a long animation that hits multiple times, and that alone signals its design philosophy. This weapon is built to control space, pressure groups, and not necessarily poke safely at a single target. Now, because of that, turning the Double Saber into an effective one-on-one weapon takes discipline. You don't get to mash buttons. You have to understand when it's safe to commit, when to disengage, and how to let defense dictate your offense. We'll circle back to what that means once we've covered the full kit. Pressing Y triggers your focus attack, where Cal throws the saber around himself in a wide arc, and once it's upgraded, you can do it a second time. Attacking out of the dash leads into a stylish spinning strike that flows cleanly into your basic combo. Now, this is one of the most important tools for the Double Saber because it allows you to aggressively enter into combat with an enemy. Next is the Vortex Dive. Holding left button and pressing X sends Cal spinning forward in a diving attack. It's aggressive, it's powerful, and it's dangerous if used carelessly. Pressing left button and Y will throw the saber forward, and once it becomes upgraded, you can turn it into the controlled throw, allowing you to keep the saber active while repositioning it. This ability is okay, and I think it has limited use, but we'll talk about a fun way to use it somewhere closer to the end. You also have Repulsing Burst. It's a force-powered area attack that staggers enemy after you jump. Now, this is less about damage and more about controlling space or creating breathing room when a fight collapses inward, which this can happen a lot with the stance. I mean, it can happen with any stance, but at least it's an ability that gives you some breathing room if you need to stagger enemies away from you and begin your multi-hit assault. And then finally, we have the Rising Storm. Holding Y launches Cal upward into an attack that lifts him into the air, and this move can be used as both a combo extender and as an escaping tool. It's another example of how this weapon can reward players who think defensively even while they're in the middle of an attack. Now, there are other abilities like multi-fold reflections, which let you reflect incoming blaster fire back at multiple enemies. And while this is a powerful ability, it doesn't really factor into the offensive construction that we're talking about with this video, so just know it's there, and if you ever get surrounded by lots of people, it's a great tool to have. Now, I titled this video the 8 steps of the double-bladed saber for a very specific reason: the basic combo itself. The double saber isn't just a string of attacks, it's a modular system. You have 8 total steps. The first 4 are your tap combo. So if you tap X 1, 2, 3, and 4 times, you'll do the basic tapped combo. But the double saber has a second combo where you hold all the buttons. And the second 4 are the held combo here: 5, 6, 7, and 8. In theory, the tap combo is designed for crowd control, while the held combo leans more towards single target damage. But in practice, the real strength of the double saber comes from the fact that you're actually never locked into one or the other. You can weave them together however you want. So, here's this diagram. Think of the system like a branching path instead of a straight line. You can tap 4 times, or you can hold 4 times. You can tap once, hold twice, then tap again. You can hold, and tap, or you can tap once and then hold the 3 remaining steps. It doesn't matter. You can combine the different basic attacks any way you want. It depends on the situation. So it's more about responding to the situation you're in than just having rigid attacks, and that flexibility is actually the soul of this weapon. Now, here's the thing about the double saber though. These combos are very difficult to execute cleanly because of the long animation. The double saber demands commitment and it punishes panic. So to stay fluid, you're going to need to understand how to weave defense into this, okay? So, you're able to keep the steps of the combo going as long as you are inputting a dodge in between them, repositioning, slipping past attacks, and then re-entering the combo without breaking flow. And here's one important tip that you should know. You can even take a hit and still stay on the next step of the combo that you're in. So as long as your next input is either an attack or a dodge followed by an attack, you can keep progressing to each step of the combo in the diagram, okay? You gotta be vigilant with the double saber, because you will likely take hits because of the long commit times, but that doesn't mean that you've lost control, unless you stop responding or back out or you parry. Defense isn't just blocking, it's having the awareness, the recovery, and really good immediate decision making. Okay, now one important limitation that I found is that you cannot continue the combo string after you parry. That will reset you back to the first step. Any block or input like that will. So if you do like a vortex dive or something, or you block or you parry or you try to do the throw, anytime you input the left button, it's going to reset your combo. Now, this next thing, I'm not entirely sure whether this is intentional or a quirk or a glitch, but interestingly enough, one thing you can do after a successful parry is sometimes you can skip the first step and jump right into steps 2, 3, and 4. I haven't figured out how to make this happen on command. I just know that it's possible, and it helps a lot when you're fighting very aggressive enemies. Getting all 4, or getting any combination of 4 steps of the double saber done cleanly is difficult, and so this lets you skip one of the steps and go right into 2, 3, and 4. I mean, let's be honest, 3 and 4, or 7 and 8 more accurately, are the coolest looking attacks in the string, and that's what we want to get to. Now, one of the most important things to understand about the Double Saber is that its other attacks aren't separate from the basic attack diagram, and they can be input immediately after any step of the basic combo. So if you need to bail out mid-string or something, you're not locked in because you're doing a combo attack. For example, let's just say you're in the middle of doing a basic combo, whether you're holding or tapping, it doesn't matter. So instead of committing to the next step, you can vortex forward past an enemy to dodge the attack as if it were simply the next input in the chain. That's not breaking the combo, that is the combo, because you can flow cleanly right back into step 1 of the Double Saber's combos after a vortex dive. So when we update our diagram, the tree doesn't just branch into taps and holds anymore, it branches outward into other abilities that can lead back into the steps of the Double Saber combo. I hope this is making sense what I'm saying. And this is where the weapon truly starts to shine. Vortex Dive is an excellent tool for closing distance, especially against enemies that like to disengage or dive backward. It does require a bit of anticipation, and you have to read the retreat before it happens, but when you do, it feels incredible. You're not reacting late, you're cutting off their escape and moving right into your offense. Now, Rising Storm is also a bit more versatile than it appears. It's not just an attack that's meant to be followed by a repulsing burst, even though that seems like that would be the obvious follow-up. Gaining height can be a defensive choice in itself, and once you're airborne, you have other options. You can Jedi flip, you can dash to reposition, or you can even flow right back into the basic combo from that angle. The Double Saber doesn't reward stubborn aggressions, it rewards having awareness. Every offensive option can double as a defensive exit, and certain defenses you can do flow right back into your offense. So you're never just attacking or just escaping. You're constantly choosing how to stay in control of the fight with this difficult to tame weapon. One thing I need to add real quick is a little bit after completing this script, I was experimenting with the Double Saber, and I figured out that Rising Storm can actually replace step 1 of the Saber combo. So you can do Rising Storm, and then that first X button input will replace step 1. So you can go from the air, input X, and then the next X input that you do, holding or tapping, will be step 2 or step 6 of the Double Saber combo. Also, regarding the skip method, what I figured out is that it happens after a guard break. It doesn't seem to be consistent. It seems to be a percentage chance that it's going to happen. So I can't make it happen. I just know that it only happens after a guard break, and it seems to be a percentage chance he'll skip step 1 and go straight to step 2 or 6. So if anybody else is interested in experimenting with it, I just know for a fact it happens after a guard break. Using the double-bladed saber against bosses can be especially challenging. You see, regular enemies will give you more space, they stagger easily, they allow you to impose your rhythm on the fight, but bosses don't. They attack quickly, they recover faster, and they rarely give you the kind of openings the Double Saber naturally wants. Their pressure works directly against the weapon's long animations and high commitment. And on paper, it feels like it's quite the mismatch. And at first, it might even feel like the Double Saber is not a viable weapon against bosses. So the question becomes, how do we fit long, multi-step combos into a fight that refuses to slow down? The answer isn't forcing offense. You have to understand both sides of the equation. You have to know the timing and limitations of the Double Saber, and you have to know the boss's attack patterns. But more importantly, you've got to stop waiting for attack windows and create them. Now, the first method to create that is timing your offense around guard breaks. If you can land the first 2 steps of the combo just as the guard break collapses, it opens the door for the full string usually. The stagger gives you the time the Double Saber needs to breathe and get off a full combo. This approach works especially well on bosses like Dagon Gera and members of the Haxian Brood, where sustained pressure naturally leads to guard breaks. In these fights, you're rewarded for having the patience to defend, see the openings, and spend them decisively. The second method, and is by far the most difficult, is fitting the combo inside the boss's own attack windows. Now this is where the Double Saber stops being a crowd control weapon and becomes a dueling tool. So remember, you can continue the combo after a dodge, and even after taking a hit. That means that perfect dodges, quick recoveries, and immediate re-inputs let you stitch the combo together in real time. Now this is difficult to do, but if you understand the limitations of a boss's moveset, you can flow back and forth into your combo, you can dodge, you can take a hit, and you can keep up that pressure. So I actually really like this about the Double Saber, that taking a hit doesn't mean that you're not still flowing through your combo. This is actually one of my favorite things about the weapon, and so it makes fighting bosses a little bit easier, because the Double Saber does a lot of damage when you're able to get the full, completely held combo off. Okay? So, when you're using the Double Saber, you're not just waiting for things to be safe, you gotta move through the danger. Perfect dodging into each step of the combo is how you reach maximum damage against aggressive bosses. And combining the two methods leads to the most optimal path to getting the full combo off and doing the most damage. Now, this kind of vigilance is absolutely crucial against a boss like Ravis. And Ravis will likely be the boss that I use to test all weapons against, because he is especially difficult because he doesn't guard break through normal pressure. You must parry to wear him down. That makes long, uninterrupted combo string windows very rare, and he hits very hard, so there's not a lot of room for mistakes. But it's not impossible. This is where the skip method that I told you about, or what may even be a glitch, becomes invaluable. So after a successful parry, you can bypass the opening attack and jump straight into step 2 or step 6 for the held combo, and then go right into 3 or 4 or 7 or 8, depending on whether you tap or hold. It's not flashy improvisation, it is how you adapt with the Double Saber. Against bosses like Ravis, you're not going to execute the combo perfectly. You've got to salvage it sometimes and stitch it together wherever the fight allows. And I'll be honest, I don't think I was able to ever get a full combo off without getting hit in the process in some way. They could probably stand to tone down the time of each attack just a little bit to let them fit a little better. Just saying, I mean, I'm being stubborn and forcing myself to get the full combo off. You don't have to do that. But I like to be able to try to get it off. And one of the ways I found it was the safest way is to try to hope that he's going to do the gun attack, and you can follow him and get the attack off with that, or the full combo off with that. So either way, yeah, fighting against a boss like Ravis is probably the ultimate test in this game. I don't think the other bosses test a weapon as completely as Ravis does. So like, I think this is a good guy to use as kind of a litmus test for all the weapons. Now, defensively, I like using push parry more than the regular parry with the Double Saber, because it backs the enemy down over flowing through, because enemy attack strings are tough to fit damage into with the Double Saber. And so using the push parry to give yourself some breathing room so that you can, you know, run in and reset the fight a little bit, or even get off like a controlled throw, are just they're better for the weapon to pace itself than to try to use the regular parry, which it is usable, but because a lot of enemies require multiple parries and it's tough to fit those attacks in between those parries, you end up spending the time having to sit and parry and deal with the defense, where other weapons you can kind of you're not required to do that. Okay. Also, on top of push parry, I like using radial push. I think it helps take the heat off of yourself, and it helps kind of reset the encounter, especially if there's multiple people around you. So, yes, Push parry and radial push, I think are great to use quickly, or good to push an enemy off you so that you can go back into your offense. I prefer that over regular parry. Okay, some abilities like controlled throw, they're difficult to just fit into combat, period. There doesn't seem to be a lot of opportunities or a lot of moments where it seems like controlled throw is the right thing to use. And so because of that, this becomes a lot less about strict optimization and more about just experimentation and fun. And so for me, I had a really fun time. Like, say you're fighting an enemy like, and I'm going to use this Bedlam Raider here as a dummy to test all weapons on, just because he's right here and he takes enough hits that we can experiment with him a bit. But so while I was practicing against him, one thing I thought was kind of fun is after finishing a combo, I would use lift, and then while he's in the air, I would use chain controlled throw, and then, you know, follow it back down with him as he comes all the way down. It's not terribly practical, and you can only do it when you're not surrounded, but I think it's a fun little thing to do. That being said, I do think personally that the saber throw and the controlled throw are somewhat wasted on the double-bladed saber. That stance already has a built-in throw through its focus attack. I think that design space could have been used to reinforce dueling with the Double Saber in close range combat, and instead the game doubles down on positioning the Double Saber as a multi-enemy weapon. I just don't understand why they do that. I'm not saying it can't be the primary multi-enemy weapon, but why does it have 2 throws? That just doesn't make any sense. You know, I feel like they ran out of ideas and just figured, we'll just add a throw. It doesn't make any sense, especially since it's really good at reflecting. Like, how many enemies that attack you from range don't have an ability or an attack that you can just reflect? What's the point of 2 throws? I just don't get it. But anyway, even with that critique, I still love the weapon's design. I had a lot of fun with it, and I really had a blast trying to fit the full combo into every single fight that I came upon. And the more I was able to get it in and see the windows and create the windows, the more I loved the weapon. So I think it's a clear improvement over Fallen Order's Double Saber design, and I've been having a blast learning it. So mechanically and thematically, I like pairing it with the Twin Sabers. I think they complement each other beautifully, but I'll save any discussion about the Twin Sabers for their own dedicated breakdown. I'll give Jedi Survivor a final rating once I've completed a deep dive on every weapon. And I'm testing this out because I'm wondering if this is a better way to review NIoh 3. So instead of just reviewing all of NIoh 3, I'll review each weapon as much as I can, and then give NIoh 3 a full review at the end. So this video is partially an experiment to see if reviewing every weapon for a game that I'm playing is a better format than to review the entire thing and then give a full combat review at the end. A game like Elden Ring, that's not reasonable because there's too many weapons, but I hope you get what I'm saying. So I hope you enjoyed this review, and let me know what you think about this direction for the channel, breaking down weapon by weapon, you know, as much as reasonably possible instead of just doing one big review that's like an hour long. And we'll see how it goes. So if you did enjoy this, hopefully, you know, and I want to say, to me, a good video isn't necessarily one that it just is groundbreaking or people love. If you learn something you didn't know about the Double Saber or whatever weapon you like using, if I teach you something you didn't know and it's just you walk away with one cool thing, that's a good video to me. It doesn't have to be like a mind-blowing video. It just has to be that I added some value to your game or to your play that you didn't have before, and as long as I'm doing that, that is a successful video to me. With that being said, I hope you can subscribe. I hope you're enjoying these videos. I am working hard to try to get more content out, which is part of the reason why I'm doing this way. So subscribe if you liked it, because the next video we're talking about is a stance that flips all of this on its head, and that is the blaster stance. So if you like blaster stance, subscribe, and I will go over that in the next video, where I will see you then. All right.